Good evening. So happy you're sharing your evening with us. This is Rossi's Brosis YouTube channel, and this is the KCJC Sports Talk. I am your host, Ken Connell, and my co-host is.
Well, John JC Campbell live and direct from Kingston, Jamaica.
All right, John, let's go straight into talking about what is trending in sport.
Well, let me start right away by saying that the Carifta games have been shifted again, has been postponed again. I shouldn't say postponed, but shifted from July now to August.
Mm-hmm.
But this time it's not because of the COVID issues. It's because the date clashes with the regional CXC exams.
Okay.
So they have to know, and the game is about youth, high school youth primarily. So they have to now shift the games again to August 13th to the 15th. So again, I don't know how that will affect the athletes, but it is what it is.
Yeah. With all of those changes, I'm always wondering how it's going to impact their performance, and hopefully this does not impact the performance in a negative way. Hopefully, there might be some benefit that can be gained because some of these guys have been practicing the way they're supposed to be practicing because of COVID. So hopefully, this is going to be a benefit to them.
Well, let's see how that goes. And then, of course, the big news over the weekend, we had a development meet at the National Stadium over the weekend, J3's meet. And of course, good news coming out of the Rossi's camp. Apparently, Rossi has two youngsters who did remarkably well. Alia Francis and Lavanya Williams. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. Lavanya Williams. And Alia actually ran in the class 200-meter sprint. And she's actually a 400-meter runner, but she was using this 200-meter as a kind of, as she says, speed training. And she did exceptionally well, running 23.84 to win her heat. And then, of course, Lavanya Williams, that was class 1, mind you. And then Lavanya Williams, a class 3 sprinter. And she did also beating Edwin Allen and the Jagos and so on. She did exceptionally well. 25.42 seconds to win her event, the 200-meter event. So it's good things going on there for Rossi's. Hopefully they'll be able to show even a better performance at the upcoming boys and girls championships.
They also won at the first meet. They're won in their event at the first meet. Also, Rossi's is definitely proving that they're going to be a force to reckon with at the national championship, especially in the sprint as it relates to class 1 and class 3. So as opposed to hearing that Edwin Allen dominate the sprint, now we have Rossi's dominating 2 sections, the class 3 and class 1. So already that the twins from Edwin Allen is going to do great in the 100-meter and the 200-meter. So of course we want to pick up some points in those areas while we dominate. We might as well just go ahead and take it all the way through championship. And good news coming out of the United States of America too. We have 20 Jamaicans qualifying for the NCAA Division 1 Track and Field Indoor Championship, which is going to be held at Randall Tyson Complex at the University of Arkansas in Fairfield. The former Kingston College and Garvey Massey horizontal jumper, Corey McLeod, along with Kavona Davis from Edwin Allen and Tashana Hemmings, they all qualified for 2 events.
Good news.
And of course, we have Damian Thomas, who is one of the top hurdlers right now in Division 1. And my girl, Akira Nugent, who not so long ago has become the joint world under 20 record holder in the 60-meter hurdles indoor. So we're expecting to see some real good performances coming out of the Jamaican athletes. I'm looking for don't be surprised if you see Damian Thomas coming out in the 60-meter hurdles. You know, he didn't do as well as I expected him to do the last time he participated, and Akira was a favorite to win, and she didn't do as good as I expected her to do either. But these are two athletes that I am really expecting them to win their individual event. Then the 60-meter hurdles. Jamaica is getting real tough to beat as it relates to the hurdles at every level.
But you know, it goes back to what we have been saying over the past couple of weeks, that there is a wealth of talent in Jamaica across all disciplines of sport. And only if we had the necessary, should I say, well, the expertise, along with the facilities, and perhaps most importantly, the resources, the funding to make sure that we coach them, we nurture them, we coach them, and present them in a very favorable light. But we have a wealth of talent. You know, I mean, I don't know if you heard, but we actually are looking forward to qualifying in rowing. This is, you know what I'm talking about here, rowing. So that to me is extraordinary, right? Was it last Olympics that we had a fellow who did, I don't remember his name right now, but it was in diving.
Diving, yeah.
You know, so we if only we have the resources pumped in the right spot and across the island. And last week we spoke again about the lack of facilities in the western end of the island. We hear that the stadium in Montego Bay is non-functional. How could that be? You know, how can it be non-functional? And let me just mention right away, my viewers might be noticing a third face on your screen. We're going to, good things come to those who wait. We'll introduce that third person in a matter of seconds. So just bear with us as we go along.
But John, you know that we maybe don't look at it as big as it is, but think about Division One NCAA. We have 20 Jamaican athletes qualifying, 20. And not only are they qualified, but some of these athletes are number one in their event. Like Corey McLeod, you know, he is the number one ranked triple jumper in Division One.
Right.
You know? And we also qualified 20 athletes last year when it was postponed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, of course. So Jamaica continues to grow.
Amazingly, man.
Especially in the area of track and field.
Amazingly, fascinating. So, you know, it leads me to say, though, again, that this effort by Brosis to establish that mini stadium on the grounds of Brosis, can you imagine if every high school, or let's every major high school, let me not say every high school, every major high school had facilities to train their athletes, facilities manned by good experts, to train their athletes across all genres of sport. Can you imagine? So I'm going to encourage the Brosis people to put your hands on heart together and get that stadium going. Because already,
what I like about our athletes, they are fearlessly competitive in all area of track and field. You know, we go out there and we compete in new environment, and we compete and we get good results. You know, so
well, let me correct it there. Not track and field, of sport.
Well, I'm right now, because we're talking about track and field. I agree with you. There are other sports that we're doing just as good.
Lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
In lacrosse, though. I spoke about rowing a while ago, so not track and field, sport. You know? All right. Anything else you want to bounce on? Let me just quickly before the time expires, that we have to kind of applaud the West Indies cricket team for what they've been doing. They're on a winning streak. We sincerely hope that nothing breaks the winning streak. We see where Darren Bravo has returned to the fold, and he has done quite well. And this Barbadian fellow, Shy Hope, made his a century the other day after being out of the squad for quite some time. So they're showing Sri Lanka what the true West Indies spirit is. And I'm happy for that. Hopefully they can go through and, clinch the series.
Yeah, they actually, in that process, Shea Hope and Evan Lewis, they actually set a record. They score 143 runs. That's a record against Sri Lanka for one-day international for the first wicket. Before the first wicket, it wasn't until after the 28th over that, of course, Lewis lost his wicket, and then they went on to win the one-day international with losing only 2 wickets.
Wow.
So I just hope that the momentum that they started off with coming from Bangladesh will continue. And I believe that they're developing confidence that is only going to benefit them in other series to come.
Well, let's sincerely hope so, boy, because things looking good. Don't change. Whatever's going on, don't change it.
It was only
don't change. Let
right.
it go on.
I think it brought about a lot of motivation and momentum, and it's not only batting. The bowling.
No, they're doing exceptionally well. I'm saying this is what I'm saying. They are doing well.
Very
right,
much.
So don't talk too much now, because when you talk about goat mouth and all that kind of thing. Let us bask in the glory. Let us, because cricket is a serious game for West Indians and Caribbean people. Cricket is more than a sport. We mentioned that, was it last week or the week before? But we have to move on as time goes. I want to mention quickly the Leon Bailey. He has established a Dare to Care Foundation here in Jamaica. So when our sports people, our sports persons do these charitable things, I have to kind of so-called big it up. When they establish their own enterprises and their own businesses, we have to really applaud them, because sometimes they use money for foolishness. So when they do well, we need to acknowledge them. And Leon Bailey has established a Dare to Care Foundation. And this foundation is, of course, targeted at disadvantaged kids. It will provide classrooms, healthcare facilities, IT facilities, and of course, sports training facilities for disadvantaged and kids at risk, especially boys at risk. So we want to applaud that that move by Leon Bailey and his father. It's supposed to be some $80 million worth of infrastructure and facilities going on. So we applaud that. Big it up, they say,
Yeah, we just want to make brief mention of the March Madness championship week, which started yesterday. When we talk about March Madness in basketball, you just have to basically choose a conference that you like. I'm in the Big Ten, so of course I'm watching the Big Ten and watch their championship, because it's out of 32 conferences, there's no way you're going to be able to see all the games, not even to tape them and watch them. Yeah, so far, it's going real good. I'm enjoying it, and we just wanted to make mention of it for those viewers that we have that, of course, is subscribing to the Brosis YouTube channel. We want to make sure that we're very inclusive and we include as many sports as possible. But of course, we want to get, if you don't have anything else, John, we want to get to our guest this evening.
Yes,
and I would love you to.
Certainly. But I leave before I introduce our guest. I want to just leave one last thing for the viewers to chew on. There was news, was it yesterday, that China has collaborated with the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, to give or to grant or to give free COVID vaccination to Jamaican athletes. I suspect it's the athletes heading for the Olympics, but certainly for Jamaican athletes. And already heads are being, people are actually saying, vaccine from China to our athletes. Mine, But hey, I don't want to create a problem here. I don't want but anyway, let's move on.
It's going to cause some controversy no matter what you do. If you don't want to talk about it, it's okay, but it's going to happen.
Just for viewers, just keep a lookout for that. China going to give us some vaccines so we can go to the Olympics COVID-free. All right, cool. We're moving on. Ladies and gentlemen and listeners, I'm so happy to introduce our guest tonight. His name is Clive Walters, and let me just tell you a little bit about a whole epistle, but from what I can glean from this man tonight, Clive is actually a graduate of the GC Foster College, one of the pioneers of that college. So he graduated with a degree in physical education and sport. He later went on to pursue a master's degree in curriculum development and instruction. Clive actually managed the YMCA's health and wellness program for about 3 years before moving on to Cable and Wireless, where he worked as a HR executive. He'll tell us more about that. But perhaps most importantly, while at Cable and Wireless, Clive established what he called a Branco, an enterprise, Branco International. He'll tell us more about that, his own business. And after some 16 years at Cable and Wireless, he moved to the USA, where again, this is a man on the move, where he established the 2C, 2W Sport and Entertainment Company. All right, a very successful company thus far. Suffice it to say that he has extensive experience in coaching. He has coached to the highest level. He has coached at the Carifta level. He has coached at the Pan American Games level. And let me just start by complete this by saying that he actually has received a certificate of merit from the New York State Assembly in track and field athletics. You can correct me as we go through. I want to say welcome, Clive, to Rossi's Brosis Sports Talk. My co-host is Kenneth Campbell. And we're going to be discussing with Clive the issue of the business of sport. It's a new thing nowadays, the business of sport. And we want to say welcome to you. And floor is yours to kind of introduce yourself a little bit more if I miss out anything,
Thank you, gentlemen. John and Carnell for inviting me to your program. And I found it very interesting that you have recap of sporting activities of the day.
Absolutely.
What I know about, based on my experience in terms of sports management, you mentioned the stadium that you're trying to work on in Rossi's. I also refer to Leon Bailey, 80 million project that he's also working on in Jamaica.
Right.
And there are also so many other projects. And one of the things that I'm invited was to talk about sports, the business of sports, and how being an entrepreneur in that area can expand it, especially in the Jamaican environment. For example, business really took off around 1970, 1980, when television money started to come into the sport. So once the television start to build the rights into the sports, then you understand that now the whole game changed. Used to have the NBA doing all of that, but that changes the game. Also, the IMG came about where they also revolutionized and realized that it's a serious game in terms of market and you have to organize it. So the recreational aspect of it and the fun aspect has started taking, because now we start to see how we can make money from sports.
From the business aspect of
From the business aspect of it.
But I wanted to ask you, Clive, because I wanted to, just for our viewers' sake, just explain a little bit about what the Bronco International was and what the 2C2W is before we get into the meat.
Okay. I went into that to dovetail back. Bronco International was founded while I was in Jamaica. We had out of GC Foster. While we were at GC Foster, the mandate of GC Foster was to produce sports managers. And then it transferred into producing teachers. And that is one of the shortfall of GC Foster. So because I went to GC Foster on the Monday, I'm going to learn all I can learn about sports management so that it's also related to the tourism industry, based on the fact that I am from Western Jamaica and it's the Mecca and Montego Bay specifically. And you know that tourism was there. I have all these hotels and everything. And we're trying to, I know we had the playmakers in the hotel there, but there was much bigger things that can come out of it.
Yes.
So Branco was formed based on that to get channel our way into this, be a part of the tourism, travel, sports industry.
So that's more like a sports tourism.
Sports tourism, exactly. That's where we're going to.
Okay.
Because, but what we found out is that, for it to work, we started by being an events company. So we used to do the World Youth Annual IWF track and field meet, where we have the World Youth Day and all that sort of thing. And so from that, then we put on seminars and clinics, because also out of Bronco, we put on the first sports legal clinic seminar in Jamaica. It was held at Immaculate, where Keith Bishop, who is also a graduate of GC Foster, was one of the first presenters. So before University of the West Indies and everybody else, Bronco International had the first sports legal clinic in Jamaica. Okay. So because, like I say, it was frontier territory. We also got involved in where, may soul rest in peace, Howard Harris. We also hosted a certification. We call it, because we weren't certified and we weren't university status, so we called a pre-certification in sports management. And the lead instructor then was Howard Harris. Okay. And we had it for over 2 days. So we were driving turns, because there was, outside of GC Foster, and GC Foster's lost its mandate, and the University of the West Indies was not in that vein anymore until they established their business school a few years after. We were in the trenches building on that. Then we moved on. Then after that, then we host track and field meet and all sort of very successful. So that was for Bronco.
Right.
That also was happening while we were at GC. I was at Cable and Wireless, because then I was at Cable and Wireless as a sports coordinator island-wide. But one of the major things that come out of Bronco also, at GC Foster, we hosted, we created the first 3-on-3 basketball tournament, where every month we had a tournament where we invited basketball players. You have from teams of 3, and we compete and we award trophies and thing and everything. And that was so exceptional. I tried to sell it to the Basketball Association, but they were not very receptive, because I was saying, listen, I have this product that give me, let's make a deal. But until this day, the Basketball Association has not stepped up. And most of the association in Jamaica, unfortunately, outside of the big 3, have not grown, have not taken the business of sports or being sports entrepreneur to a next level. So that has fallen behind. At Bronco, we also try to get into the situation of sport tourism, where we try to get teams, groups from overseas to attend the boys' championship. Right. We set up the schedule, we set everything, and we try to. Then we talk to ISA now and say that we need X amount of tickets. We were told by ISA that we cannot get the tickets because the stadium can hold only 35,000, and there's not enough tickets based on the size of the stage for just the people in Jamaica, so they can guarantee Bronco tickets to sell overseas. Because as you know, at Boys and Girls Championships are Mecca, and the tickets are so hard to get. So if I can put a package together and have people come down, and we give them the full treatment of a week in Jamaica. I know I'm giving away my ideas, but then again, that's what we have tried over the years. But the seating capacity of the stadium does not lend itself to that. Also, so we're saying we are making enough money, so your project means nothing right now.
I gather there's a move afoot to improve the capacity, the holding capacity of the stadium. There is actually that going on as we speak. But let me ask you this though, Clive. What are some of the, well, 2 questions. What is sport business really? What is this business of sport? One, and what are some of the enterprises that could be established under this umbrella of sport? What are some of the things? We know you can sell, we know the sports business shop already, Western Sports and so on. I'm not talking that. But what else? I think you touched on some already, but what else could be established under this umbrella called business of sport, you know, in your, from your experiences, you know?
Okay, the business of sports basically is the off the field activities, branding, television right. For example, due to COVID-19, most of us recognize one thing: there was not enough content for all the television stations because everything was, so there was a lot of rerun. So there was a major lack of content. So so entrepreneurs started to get into creating content, and moving forward, everybody realized content is gold. Just like you're doing this program now, the sports program now. Over time, if we do have another pandemic, people are going to be running because people are attracted to sports. Sports is one of the biggest galvanizing force on planet Earth.
Absolutely.
So if we can market that. Also, what we also recognize due to the pandemic is also that data is also required, because people love their statistics. All these video games and new technology and games that is going on, it's data driven. So if anyone wants to get into sports now, especially say in Jamaica, creating content like you're doing now, and create data. But outside of all of that right now, also for Jamaica specifically, and you're talking about the stadium that you have to work on in Brosis, that also is a gold mine. Just imagine if you can attract, if you have such a facility, you're near your Negril area, beautiful countryside, rural district, sports and culture, you have the cultural aspect of, you can blend all of that in, and spring break and all these universities are always searching for safe place to go to send their thing, and you're locked yourself into that. Bam.
Yeah.
So you really don't have to search far to this. All you got to do is, but yeah, first of all, you have to have it all planned, directed, implemented, and find an accelerator or a venture capitalist to back you up. And once you have the land, because what also COVID-19 has teach all of us that moving forward, all sports, whether club, at the grassroots level, recreation level, or at the professional level, you have to own your own facilities. Because what happened? Schools closed their facilities, no one can go. Government closed their facilities, no one can go. If you had your own personal facilities, you can practice social distancing, and you lost so much money. Because no. The European clubs this year is going to lose $1.7 billion.
Yep.
$1.7 billion, you know.
That is big money.
Because of the COVID. The Indian Premier League is also losing billions of dollars, and take it home to me at 2C2W. I've lost a year income. Right. Because everything was shut down. So the new model, there has to be a new model. There have been 3 models before, right? Relationship, right? Reputation, and fans. But then we have to also create a new model, because those models now, the pandemic, which no one ever thought that sports would be affected in such a way.
Yep. But
like you said, if you want to get into the business of sports, you have to put on events, you have to put on activities, but it have to have a relationship aspect to it. It have to have reputation that people can trust it. And you have to, that based on that routine, you have to create the product in terms of the marketing, everything, to attract the fans to it. For example, the shirt you have on now, the Gibson Relays, the shirt that you're wearing now, a Puma. That also is a long-standing traditional thing that everyone look forward to.
It's a brand.
And the key is that it's not a one-man shop. It's an organization that grows, there's transition, there's leadership, there's people committed to it. Because what if you notice in Jamaica, a lot of the clubs that exist now will not be existing another 15, 20 years. Why? Because they're owned by an individual. It's reputation, it's relationship. If that person grow old, that organization is going to go. So sports, the business of sports is setting up structure that will last generations.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it, and that's the main focus of it right
I wanted to touch a little bit more on the 2C2W enterprise. I don't think you mentioned much about that.
Right.
What is it? What does it do in terms of from your own perspective?
Okay, the 2C2W is an offshoot and the concept of the Bronco, where I moved now to United States, and the first thing that we did, we set up an athletic academy where we prepare athletes, track and field, specifically in track and field, but we do all sports because we do agility training, we do coordination for all sports. So we have work with footballers, we have work with cricketers, we work with lacrosse players, once you want to get. So we work with all those, even though we compete as an academy specifically in track and field. But we prepare you. If you can walk, we make you faster.
Okay.
Because we know how to do it.
Yeah.
And our record has proven to it. And that's why we have gotten all the awards that we have gotten. But also for 2C2W, what also we have done, and we are also a pioneer also here in the New York area in the United States, because a lot of people see sports as a voluntary organization where you have all these clubs, non-profit and everything. But we are saying that there has to be a social enterprise where there has to be a business side to it. So we own and operate a track and field meet at the Ocean Breeze facilities every year. So we have our own indoor track and field facilities. Like I said, COVID-19 wiped that away, but we should be on track this year. And we have gone 5 years with that event, and it has grown. Where we have athletes, clubs, and teams from all over the United States, and even as far away as Hawaii to come in. We will be inviting teams from Jamaica in the future. Also from that, we have established recognition for coaches. So we have established World Coaches Day event where we recognize coaches for their performance over the years. And we have been recognizing coaches, and also this has been endorsed by the City of New York, and the JHA former president, Dr. Blake, has been coming all the while, and we have been doing great. And we have recognized coaches from all over the Caribbean, in the United States. That is our recognition for coaches. And we have also been working on other sports special projects, like writing books, producing seminars, clinic, and also because we understand this, that sports is multifaceted. It's one of the things that, for example, think about track and field. Track and field almost have 32 events. Long jump, high jump, triple jump, 100, 200. So you can get into the sports and pick your niche and build on that niche. So that's where we're at with 2C2W now. Okay. And we are also into education, mentoring, wellness, mindfulness.
Was it last week we had a psychologist on our program who spoke about what you just mentioned about,
mindfulness
and
wellness.
Yeah, yes. Actually, this is a big issue, It's not something that we perhaps focus a lot on here in Jamaica. I don't know. But
it's not
certainly.
Just,
go ahead, Ken.
It's not just Jamaica, I'm sure Clive will tell you also that in the high school system here and in certain colleges, it's about the same problem. Clive, I do some coaching in track and field myself, so I'm familiar with what you're talking about, that when track and field are, let's say track is the basic of all sports,
Absolutely.
but then no matter what sport you do, I have tennis players, I have footballers, I've coached tennis players, footballers, it doesn't matter. But we go back to what you're talking about. It's just that the problem is here also whereby we do not focus enough on mental skills in most cases. We focus on the physical skill, but not so much the mental. And it's time we realize that you will never get the full potential from your athlete without getting them involved in the mental skills also. And I want to touch on something else before I allow you to speak, Clive. In our circle in Jamaica, for instance, I think that our problem starts from the coaches helping the kids to realize that when you do sports, it's not extracurricular activity. It's an investment in oneself, and you can use that investment to go beyond just running on the track. If you're not successful on the track, just like what you did, you can use it and turn it into a business, into a big enterprise, like what you're talking about. I think it starts from there. And so we have to build from within the system. We have to change the entire mindset in order for this to be adaptable at a wider scale, on a wider scale.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, Ken, because what it points to, and we have mentioned this before, what it points to is a paucity of, should I say, proper instructions, or better word, education, in terms of how we prepare our kids in high school. This notion that you go to high school, you do the 3 hours, and you go look at work at the bank, or you go look at work down so and behind a desk. And we have not promoted the notion of sport being a career. I don't think we've done well in that. Nor, and I can speak also for the entertainment sector, where you're a kid, we are not all nurses, we are not all doctors, we are not all whatever. Some of us are so inclined, we are more inclined to be musicians, and we want to make music, and we want to live a career of music. Some of us are more inclined to be sports people. We want to live and work a career as that. I don't know if our systems, educational systems in Jamaica, and maybe the wider Caribbean, I don't know if we have done enough to prepare our kids that. So it's almost as if we look down on that person who wishes to do sport as a career, or wishes to do music as a career. So again, it points to some deficiencies in our educational systems, So I'm hoping that I think we're learning though, mind you, I think we are learning. We have a little way to go, but I think we are learning that. And I guess the Usain Bolts and the Shellians and all those people have kind of helped to usher that mind, that thinking along, that, you can be a sports career. You can have a career in sport. You can have a career in music,
Let me say this, that the points that you're making is glaring. It's absolutely glaring, because even in the institution, it is not unique to Jamaica. It's also unique to here in the United States, where
very interesting. Very interesting.
Very
interesting.
The academic side, you will get a trained, certified teacher, even with a PhD, to teach the academic side, because that is recognized as the intellectual side of educational learning. But you will get someone who knows nothing about biomechanics, kinesiology, movements, to prepare youngsters in sports. So you will have some good, talented kids who have weak, unqualified instructors, and they never develop. Wow. Because the system recognizes that academically it's math, science, this. But the sports inside of thing is just go hang out, just do a thing. Make we just check the box that at least we are offering physical education, recreation and after school sports and all sort of thing.
And
that is a major problem.
I am so surprised to hear
if I may add, there is a problem with that also, because when people like myself go into the high school system and I'm coaching, the moment you start getting results, you're considered a threat to the other people, because usually what happens is that they do not allow somebody who is not teaching at the school to be the head coach, right? That's how it is in Illinois. And the moment you start going in and you start coaching and you start getting results, you're considered a threat because you're showing them up. You're showing up their weaknesses.
Okay.
And so you face this problem that you cannot go in and do that, because then remember, they're getting paid as head coaches. And so you're showing them up. Now, what you're talking about, Clive, and what we're talking about, John, is something that I've taken myself to the District 227 board that I'm in, that is in Richland Park in Illinois. And one of the things I presented to them is the fact that we emphasize still the traditional type of education, which is what we're talking about, whereby we're preparing everybody to be lawyers, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, and traditional careers, right? But from that group, let's say we have a graduating class of 100 people, you'll be lucky to find 10 that's going to end up in those traditional career fields. What do we do with the other 90 students? What do we do with them? There is no preparation for them. There is no safety net for them. It's either you do those courses or then you end up going into the army, which might not be a bad thing for some people, or you go someplace else, and they usually end up in the army. Or they go to a junior college, and when they go to a junior college, then they might make it through the first year, and then they end up in the army again because they cannot cope, because there's really not a springboard for those students to springboard them into something else. They actually saw that and recognized that they had that deficiency. But when it comes to implementing it, no matter how, and we have the same system in Jamaica, we have compelling and innovative ideas, but there's nobody who will put it into action.
Let me say this.
Jamaica, and it's here the same way.
Let me say this. What you're saying is actually factual. But one other thing I know, because at some point in time, sometimes I teach sports management here, right? And not many institutions, and I'm talking about high school now. And sports management, once, if you're not very focused as an instructor or a teacher in teaching the subject, the students won't take it very seriously. Once you start to educate them in terms of what is possible. For example, the professional league, all these managers of these facilities here in New York, is a mecca. We have so many professional football team, basketball team, and is a money-making venture. For example, you cannot get a premium seat in Madison Square Garden. And the Knicks has not been winning anything for a long time. But you cannot get a ticket. You cannot get a premium seat because it's season. If you give up that ticket, that seat, you will never get it back because the line is so long. Same thing also for football. Soccer is also going the direction. The point I'm saying, the business of sport is such a big business, but a lot of people not going the direction. And like I say, it's a difficult field to get into because but COVID-19 is a blessing as far as I'm concerned. People now start to recognize that the importance of sports and recognize that there got to be a certain level of changes taking place in terms of one, and I said it before, facilities. Gone are the days where every club, teams are not going to try to own their own facilities. So you have to put something to get to own your own facilities. Every situation you have baseball, windows, facilities, you have to own it. And the same thing goes for Jamaica. Clubs in Jamaica shall remain nameless, but they don't own their own facilities. They're based at campuses of colleges. The colleges administration can pull the plug on them anytime. Anytime.
So
where they do they take the athletes?
Let me ask you something, Clive, because you've been in this more the business side of this whole thing. What I'm seeing from talking to the people that we're bringing onto our show, what I'm seeing from what you're saying is that I see whereby the methodology is there in people like yourself. And I think that this should be good enough to change the minds of skeptic, especially in our own country, in Jamaica. So why do you think that they're not buying into some of these arguments that you guys are bringing forward?
It takes money. For example, to build a facility, it's going to take $1 million US, $1 million, right? If you want to pull a 400-meter track with seating for 300, 400 persons. That's why in Jamaica, there are so few schools. You see the project that they have to put in to get those tracks in, and is not even the government putting it in, you know. The government is alumni putting those tracks in.
We mentioned already about JC's mini stadium.
Right.
Jamaica College.
So what coaches Jamaica is a coaching culture. Someone will coach a team from high school to club forever. And then he retired and sit in the stands at the National Stadium and reminisce and say, I used to be good. I used to coach so many athletes. Mm-hmm. And you have nothing to show for it financially, no facilities, no program. Your ideas is going to. So the changes that have to come with the individual deciding now that, listen, because I'm a graduate of GC Foster, and GC Foster alumni is one of the hardest group to organize and bring together. You know why? It's a cultural thing where every GC, outside of all the other institution, UWI, whatever, GC Foster graduates are always competing against each other. Mm. So based on that culture that we have, based on that culture that we have, it makes it almost difficult because we're always rivals. And sometimes ego is going to get bruised. You know what I'm saying? And also that. So we have to learn over time now to cross over that divide. And once you cross over that and decide that we have to come together in groups, create acceleration groups, venture capital groups, and decide, so we're going to buy a piece of land, we're going to build a facility, and we're going to form a company. Yes. And until that's the direction. That is the business of a sport.
I like that because, I like that. You know why I say I like that? Because I remember some time ago in with the earlier programs, Ken and I did mention that hopefully one day we will live to see, for instance, the Brosis, the past students themselves having a stake in what goes on, not Brosis, but in the community. They own this piece of thing, and this piece of whatever, property or whatever, is an income generating machinery.
And that's the way forward.
Owned by a collective of Brosis old students, So it's a very critical thing you spoke of. But let me ask you this, so having said that, but how feasible, because Ken has been touching on it, and Ken just asked about what's the difference here in Jamaica. How feasible do you think, for instance, sport business can be in an environment like Jamaica? How do you think it can work, the business of sport? And I'm not talking Western sport now with table tennis board and
you're not talking about apparels and merchandise. You're talking about actual owning.
Not just that. The entire, that's the easy part, to sell shirts and socks and so on.
That's what I'm saying.
Business as we described earlier. Yes. How feasible do you think that is in a Jamaica? Can we establish this kind of, whatever it is, a business of sport? I am doing this because it's a sport business,
For example, it's feasible. It can happen. But we have to change the mindset of depending. Go back to the point I'm making. We have to change what makes money in sports. Facilities.
You're right. You're right.
You control the facilities.
Thank you very much.
One of the
You
most
control the facilities. You control the concession. Once you control the ticketing.
yeah.
You control the marketing and the branding. Then you can start offer professional contract, retain a contract to specific athletes. You cannot say you're going to get this athlete to come. You have to create, because there's one thing that Nike has done. Nike, Adidas, Puma, all of it. You know what they have done? They have cornered the market with athletes based on the fact that they have written in each athlete that they sponsor contract that you have to do a certain amount of meets for us every year. So they have the Nike championship, the Puma championship, and all these athletes, big reputation stars that they have to turn up at least 2 of those meets. Tickets sold, concession sold, right? Television rights sold.
Oh yeah.
Content created.
Oh yeah.
I have to agree.
It is possible.
I have to agree with you. One of the most consistent team. People might be saying, "How come you talk about Jamaica so much? Oh, you know so much about Jamaica, and you're in the United States." One of the most consistent team we have in the Premier League is Mount Prospect.
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant. My correction. Thank you for the correction. And one of the reasons why they're so successful is because they have the same business structure that you're talking about. Yeah. That same business structure. And right now, I don't think they control when it comes to the vending side of it, like the stalls and the shops and so forth. But they have an academy and they have their own stands and so forth. And right now they're the most consistent team in the Premier League. You know, so it works. And take it a little bit further to on the international scene. You know, the other day on our program we talked about a few months ago where the United Arab Emirates invited Usain Bolt to come to a top class business meeting that they had, which has to do with sports. You know, the revenue that can be generated from sport. And he was one of the key speakers, you know, and that's because they invest so much. Most people think that these guys are only an oil-rich country. They look for other sources of revenue too. And one of the areas that they target in and continue to expand in is the area of sports, you know, sports as a business.
Okay, let me say this. You touch on that, and you're absolutely right. For example, a lot of people not paying attention to leadership in the corporate world, management, leadership and management in the athletic world, sports world is identical. Management is management.
Yes.
Business is business. What you have to understand, the CEO of a corporate organization wants to learn why a Usain Bolt persevere when he loses, when he doesn't want to go to training. How does he motivate himself to get there going? What he has done to compete at such a high level and going through all of that. That is something you have to learn. So you want to pass it on to the business world because it's a motivational aspect of it. You understand what I'm saying? And the passion and the drive to get you so committed to go through all that pain and ache and misery to compete. So they're that straight line with each other. And so it's no magic formula there to it, you know. All you got to do, you know, we have to change the mindset, and sporting individual have to come together. Because take it and say what you want, you know. Kingston College, Jamaica College, Calabar.
Mm-hmm.
They have their detractors, but they have a model.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
They have a model.
Hey, I want to say this, Clive, before I don't want to cut you, but I have to say this. You know that already. Well, before the what do you call it, the COVID-19 issue at JC, they had schools and people from overseas vying, lining up to come to Jamaica to rent.
I know.
And their facilitator.
I know.
We use it.
I know.
No joke.
I know.
Talk to
This
some
is
of
no
the
joke.
guys because Clive,
I know.
I'm down there every year for boys and girls championship. I go every year. So what you talk about the ticket, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have to go through. I can't tell you how many people I have to go through to get my ticket for the weekend, for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. But one of the things I learned from some of the JC old boys is that apart from JC Old Student Association operating as an independent body, they also have a body that worked jointly with JC, KC, Calabar, and I think can't remember what other school is involved in it. I think it's Wilmer's Boys, where they meet and they discuss ideas. So even though they operate as separate schools, but they have also a group that works together. I don't know if it's still active, but one of the old JC old boys was telling me about it.
Listen, that's the point I'm making. That's absolutely the point I'm making. No one wants to show their business model, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes I don't come on some of these programs, because you have a lot of people just pick up your ideas on these podcasts and then just say what and run with it while you're working on your project. And I'm being straight up. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But the point I'm making is that the model is there, and all it takes for cooperation. You understand what I'm saying? Because remember, no, to put on an event, it has several parts to it. So you have to cross borders. You understand what I'm saying? For example, if you run a track meet, you need a starter, so you need officials, right? Then after officials, you need what? You need athletes. And when you need athletes, you need all sorts of people. You need concessions, and all those parts have to come together, become one to make it a successful event. So no one can say that they're not willing to work with each other and cooperate each other, because it's been done. But a lot of the egos definitely has to come out of the way.
I got to ask you, in your line of business in sports in the New York area, what is your long-term, what is your short-term first and long-term objective with what you're doing?
My short and long-term objective is to own my own facility.
Okay.
Because, for example, when I use other facilities, I put the event in there and it costs me a truckload of money.
Okay.
But I don't get the concession. And the concession is one of the biggest things. You have 3,000 athletes over 2 days at an event. They have to eat. They want to drink. So the concession is making more money than me. Yes, still I am putting on the event. I do all the work and I have to pay the facilities, and they still make more money than me. Because all I get is the participation fee until I'll go seek sponsors elsewhere. That's one of the reasons why US Open and all these tennis champions can pay so much money to these winners, because they have all these major branding sponsors and the concession. If you go if you've ever been to the US Open, for one sandwich and a drink, you don't want to know the price. You really don't want to know the price. You can look it up online. You'll be amazed. For one pretzel, a little pretzel, you don't want to know the price.
Interesting. But let me ask you, because this is interesting. With time is almost expired. But let me ask you this quickly. You mentioned earlier about the corporate world, and you mentioned also about mindset. Yeah. I guess I'm thinking, what are some of the strategies? Because especially in a place like Jamaica, again, we're kind of what they call tunnel vision. Business is just one kind of tunnel vision thing. We have not yet been able to venture too much on the sporting side to see how we can make a business of the sporting side on a big scale. And that is large because of how the financier will view his returns. You know, will I make a profit from this? If I invest in this, will I make a profit? And if it seems a little bit uncertain, they will not put their money in it. I guess the question I'm asking there, you know, what some of the strategies that will get buy-in from these corporate entities? You know, what are some of the strategies we could use? What is it that they want to hear and see for them to, you know, so we can get buy-in from these people to invest in a sport business, or invest in this, or investing in, you know, I'm just trying to out there.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Let me say this one. As a sports entrepreneur, it takes sacrifice. You have to run the risk. You are not a normal person. You can end up getting a 9-to-5 job that's probably going to pay you $200,000 a year. Say in the United States here, right? But if you want to be an entrepreneur here and build your own business, you have to forego that. And you have to build from the bottom up. You have to take the risk. Once you take the risk and take the product to a certain level of reputation, relationship-wise, fund-wise, then they will come in. They're not going to start at the bottom with you. They're not. And that's why I make the point that, I mean, you have to get into people who are committed and willing to risk their money and do not quarrel about if the returns is not quick. Because if you notice, I work with cable and wireless for a number of years. And I see how the marketing and promotional department work. They handpick events that is going to give them, one, visibility, two, generally sell us a certain amount of product because there are returns that they expect from it. Now, three, it's going to enhance the profile of the company. If you cannot offer that, it's not going to happen. So you'll have to have people actually want to invest their own money and go through the blood, sweat, and tears of it. And that's the only way. Because from the 70s into the 80s, that's what people have to do. Everyone is chanting Liverpool, Arsenal, all that. They don't remember those clubs are coming from unrecognizable places. But they build their fan base, they invest millions into players and lost millions every year. To initially now, and they're hoping that they're merchandising, because their merchandising now is the biggest part of their business.
Of course, man.
A good example.
Merchandising and also creating content based on their game and selling it to the media. So that's where their money is now. That's why they can pay all these players all this unbelievable amount of money. So most of the supporters that they have now, they will accept you. You make nice. But if you don't buy a shirt, come on.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Merchandise, boy.
All right.
Yeah, well, all right. Can you say something?
Like the business they're in, based on what I'm listening to, without a doubt in my mind, it's a very challenging profession with many difficult decisions that you have to make.
Absolutely.
Can you share your philosophy with us? Your philosophy in the area that you're in, and you know, how do you use it to drive your business right now?
Okay. The model that I use when I introduced it for the first time here, I charge a fee. All right. And a lot of people are saying that it's just track and field. Why are you charging so much money? And no, you should do this, and they spend all manner of things against you. But the point is this: you cannot go to a deli. You know what I mean by a deli? Or a shop in Jamaica, right? Or a supermarket. And tell that person, give me a bag of rice and a pound of flour. And you don't pay him for it. He chose you out of the shop. So why, with my talent, experience, and offering your service, and you're not going to pay me for it? I should do it for free. And that's one of the problems, is too many people in the sporting world is willing to do it for free. And they will come to you. And if you have somebody and they're willing to pay you and everything, they'll say, come to me, I'll coach for free. And they themselves will pay out of their pocket personally just to get accolades.
Yeah.
No, you cannot build a brand like that. You cannot go to Madison Square Garden. Look, take, for example, Patrick Ewing, who is an icon at Madison Square Garden now, complaining over the past 2 days where security is stopping him and harassing him. And he has to be getting mad and say, wait a minute, I own this building. My name is on the rafters. You understand the point I'm making? So if you're going to go like a doctor, you cannot go to a doctor's office and don't pay their co-pay. An insurance company. Which other profession, which other thing? So until the players in the business, in the world of sport, start to think that level of business, it's not going to move.
Now we need to add value and put value to the thing.
There has to be value. There has to be.
Maintain the value too.
And my success, and what is it? Because I had value to it.
Yeah, value. Boy,
and that's it.
This is a new area, but I'm so happy you were able to come, Clive, and kind of shed some light on this, because, you know, as we speak, as I said, this organization, this Brosis organization here, I know they are thinking of doing well for the school and promoting and advancing the school. To do so, it's going to take finances. To gain the finance, we have to find some means of generating the income. And I think one of the means of doing so is through a well-organized, well-run machinery of sport, you know? So I hope that all those persons who are listening will be kind of motivated in terms of how to put, don't be afraid to go for it, you know, put certain things in place, put the relevant machinery in place and oil it too, so that it can run smoothly along the way. There'll be a little hitch here and there, but I'm saying it can run smoothly if you service it well and so on, you know. I want to say thank you, Clive.
Let me say that.
Go ahead. You're saying
Let me say that. You talk about oiling, right?
Yes.
Oiling is cash. And people need to be willing to put the cash in to let it grow, and do not question the people that they put in charge of that cash. Trust them.
Yes.
To do that. And it's also a long-term thing, because if you don't see a result in a year or 2 years, you may not see it in 5 years, but it's a brick by brick by brick by brick by brick. But you have to continue. And that's one of the reasons why I use the political parties model.
Right.
If somebody is running, they have people making contribution, $5 to just to make a politician win. Just imagine if you were putting that in your alumni or something, your $5 in your alumni. What a difference would that make?
So Clive, we talk about this almost every week. I touch on this. So this show is pretty much for sports education, and from talking to you and talking to a lot of our guests in the area of sports, it helped me to feel confident that I'm absolutely certain that what we're planning to do at Rothy's is going to be, it will be a game changer. And I believe that it will change the spectrum of sports in Hanover, not just in Hanover, but possibly in the county of Cornwall. You know, even though this is it's a long shot. I have to say it's a long shot, but the benefit that I see coming from this is absolutely immeasurable. right? Immeasurable. So then I hope that our listeners and members of Brosis is paying attention to some of the things that you're saying, and that from tonight's show and last week's show, they will by now come to the conclusion that we need to put the work in to make sure we get this work done. Because changing the sports spectrum in Western Jamaica or in Lucy can be beneficial to the whole community.
But I know for a fact that, but let me say it, I understand that. I remember Rossi's built that facility across the street from the high school, that football field. What happened to it? It's still there?
Yes.
Where you used to play their home matches?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
And there was it, right. And that's 1,000 years. Come on, Rossi's, you have all this alumni out there. You can build a world-class facility. You have the land, you have the place. All you got to do is put up stands and put a track in there. What? Come on, Rossi's. Come on, you have the land.
Thank you.
You have the land.
So that's an appeal
Like
to the
what?
That's an appeal to our listeners, right?
No, come on. Like, remember, I've been at Cornwall College and we go there and play. And we were envious and saying, wow, you have this beautiful all wall. And then Diggy was a coach then. And we're saying, like, everything is on fire. That's what I'm telling you. You need committed long-term people in place. You can't be here today, gone tomorrow. It has to be a structure with the administrator, with a CEO.
Yes, I think that has been a long-standing, I was about to say fault, but all right, let me say fault, a long-standing fault of many of our people, not just Rosino, but people of our kind, particularly here in Jamaica. This lack of the will to collaborate, cooperate, and trust.
Taking chances.
And yes, and trust collectively, you know.
Be able to take
collaboration and trust. Collaboration and trust.
And that is from colonial days, you know. We haven't got over that so well yet.
And that's the reason why the business of sport growth in Jamaica is like climbing on an oily mountain.
Yeah.
Because until you get that two connection, trust.
Yes.
Because
I want to thank you, Clive, for your time and your amazing talk on this, the potential therein for establishing business around sport. You know, I look forward to speaking with you again, and I'm sure Ken will share the same views. They can go on forever. The same one of the things. But I want to thank you so much for being with us, and certainly want to wish you the best wishes for your own entrepreneurial endeavors as you move forward and through, as you wander and wave through this COVID crisis. And it too shall pass. And I sincerely hope that you, like the phoenix, you'll rise from all this and be much, much better and stronger than before. So on behalf of Brosis,
like I said,
brothers and sisters of Rosis, I want to thank you so much for taking your time and for being here. Ken, the last words about the subscribe thing, you want to just jump in here?
I wanted to say something real quick.
No, I'm just saying that it was a pleasure being here and having this discussion. And I'm imploring all the Rossi's alumni, because I remember when Rossi's track and field team was 0.
Thank you.
Now you have heroes.
Yep.
Outside of Merlin, not you had to go somewhere else to get fame and fortune.
Thank you very much, sir. History. History. Yeah, you know, I was telling somewhat earlier thing. I was saying that I recall that there was an athlete who was actually faster than Merlin Atti on Sports Day.
Absolutely. That's
she was
a fact.
faster and nobody knew about her. She disappeared. She got pregnant in the end and left school. Enough said. Thank you, sir, for being with us. I look forward to another chat with you in the future.
Oh, okay.
Thank you
Have
so
a great
much.
time,
Thank you so much.
gentlemen, and
Yes, sir. Thank
success
you
to
so
you
much.
all.
Thank you
And
so much,
good
sir.
luck in all your endeavors.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Best wishes.
All right, and we just want to say thanks to all our supporters who have been subscribing to the Rusty's YouTube channel. We want to ask you for your continued support. And before we go, I would like to say thanks to the people who are behind the scene making this show possible. Speaking about Carleen Stewart, now in Parkinson, and our president, Troy Malcolm, thanks. And
Yes.
thanks to our viewers for taking time out. And as usual, we want to say to you, happy Friday's Eve. Drop in the mic.
Yes, sir. All the best.